snowing outside, so I decided to make a nice porter stew, or stout stew. I call it the Guinness stew because that's what I use. So our ingredients are, here I'm using chuck roast, which I've chopped up. Any sort of stewing beef is excellent. I decided to cut up myself, and I removed some of the fat. Don't remove all the fat, it is needed. Fat is flavor, but usually into about 1 to 2 inch cubes is perfectly fine. Next to that, I have 1 teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of pepper. That is going to be used to season this beef. Here I have 4 slices of bacon chopped up into 1/2 inch strips. Here I have 3 carrots chopped up to 1 inch pieces. Here I have 2 stalks of celery, 1 inch pieces. 2 medium onions, chopped. Here I have one of the stars of the show. I'm using Guinness. It's 14 ounces of Guinness, which is 400 milliliters. Here I have 2.5 cups of chicken broth, and that's about 600 milliliters. Here I have 1 teaspoon of sugar and a 1/2 cup of tomato paste, and that's about 118 milliliters. On this plate, I have 4 very large cloves of garlic, 4 sprigs of thyme, and an additional 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I am going to do this in the Dutch oven. I'm going to do it all on top of the stove. You can prepare it all on top of the stove and then put a lid on it and bung it in the oven for about 2.5 hours. But I'm going to do it on top of the stove. I love the smell, and I like to keep an eye on it as it cooks. Also, some people like to throw potatoes in there about your size. I'm not a huge fan. I'm just over the flavor, basically. And it doesn't do the potato any justice. So for myself today, I'm going to make a nice pile of mashed potatoes to go along with my stew. All right, we're going to get started by browning. First, the bacon. We'll brown that, remove it, and then we'll add the seasoned beef. Be right back. We'll go ahead and season this. And this is, like I said, it's a teaspoon of salt. All of it goes in there. And a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. It really is important to season this well. So on high heat, I am going to add the bacon. Good, I hear it sizzle, so we're going right. I'm going to leave it on the high heat and then turn it down to a medium once everything's going well. And then I'm just going to render the fat from this bacon for about 3, 4, 5 minutes. We'll be back. This is looking good. Lovely brown bottom there, and plenty of fat in there. I'm going to take these out now, and I'm going to put them aside, and we'll return them later to the stew. The heat's at medium. I'm going to turn it down a little bit because that is smoking. Let's go ahead and add our beef. Do not overcrowd the pan. Once you get your beef in, do not move it for a few minutes. Keep an eye on the heat. 2 or 3 minutes on each side. Turn them over. The whole thing will take me about 20 minutes probably to do the entire 3 or 4 batches. Be patient. This is a really important step. I'm on the final batch. Got some beautiful color on it. If you don't have color on this, either you're overcrowding or your heat is not high enough. This has been smoking all along, hence the reason to put on the extractor fan. But that's it. All right, let me remove these. I'm going to take this pan for a second and toss out this excess oil here, in fact, which I don't need. Heat is back on to medium. We're going to take about 1/2 cup of our chicken broth. We're going to deglaze this pan. Turn it up to high heat, that's enough. And deglaze is another fancy word for me washing, but to get all the good stuff off of this. This will take a few minutes, but not too long. Remember to scrape down the sides. That looks good. I must have gotten most of it. I did turn off the heat once it started boiling because I was getting a facial. I'm going to take this right now and just toss it in over the meat that we have reserved on the side. And ta-da, we got most of the good stuff on the bottom. I'm going to turn it on again to medium-high heat. Slight change. I don't want to use the fat that I took out of this pan. I just don't like the look of it or the smell of it. So in addition, I'm going to use maybe 1 good tablespoon of olive oil. And then we'll get the vegetables going once that's hot. That's hot, so I'm going to add the onions, celery, and the carrots. Give them a mix, a little bit of oil on most things. It's a nice color. We're going to cook this until the onions are translucent and take on a tiny bit of color, and then we'll move on to the next step. This will take about 5 to 8 minutes. Stir it occasionally. The onions are translucent, they're taking on some color, and now it's time to add our thyme, our salt, and our garlic. Stir it up, just 1 minute, you'll smell the garlic, and it smells so good. We are going to add our Guinness all at once. I have this on a high heat. Love, oh, smell that. Oh. Smells like a pub. And the remainder of our chicken stock. To that, we will add tomato paste and our teaspoon of sugar. Stir this up. We're going to add our beef back in and the stock. Beautiful. Stir that up. And finally, we'll add our bacon back in. When it comes to a simmer, I'm going to put the lid on, and then we're going to cook it for 2 hours. All right, this is simmering nicely. I'm going to turn down the heat to a medium-low. I'm going to put the lid on it. I'm going to check in a few minutes to make sure it's still bubbling. If not, I'll adjust the heat. Otherwise, 2 full hours in this pot. We can stir it every half hour. It's perfectly fine. See you back here soon. While the potatoes are relaxing, I have here 2 tablespoons of butter, half a cup of milk, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, oops, a 1/4 teaspoon, now a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. I don't like putting anything cold into the potatoes. I like to heat this up in the microwave first. I may need to add more salt and pepper, and I also have some cream here, which I might add at the very end. We'll see. Going to put the potatoes into a bowl. Get the ones from the bottom. Here I have the butter, milk, and the salt and pepper. So I'm going to pour this directly over the potatoes. And now I'm going to go in there with a wooden spoon and basically abuse those potatoes. Mashed potatoes are very badly made mashed potatoes. Only this is intentional. So keep going, fold it over, and very quickly all that creamy goodness just sticks to those broken potatoes. So we have large lumps, like a potato salad, with all this creamy goodness stuck to it. So we're just going to taste it for seasoning. It's good. It has just the right amount of salt. I shouldn't be putting my fork in there 2 times, but fork in. This style of potato is going to be wonderful with our lovely Guinness stew, which only has 5 more minutes to go. See you shortly. All right, before we serve this beautiful stew up, you need to sort of, if you can, fish out the 4 sprigs of thyme. We don't want someone choking on it. Yes, of course you do, and that's entirely up to you. I'm not judging. And here it is, this beautiful Guinness stew with smashed potatoes. It's just glistening in the light. I'll give you a close-up of that. It is gorgeous. All right, let's give it a try. Oh, the meat is fork tender. Color on that. Get out of here. It is so good. I have not had Guinness stew in over a year. My bad. And these smashed potatoes. Before I put another mouthful in, there's a beautiful sweetness to this Guinness stew. I think you should make it. I'm glad I went with smashed potatoes because the chunkiness of the potato lends itself to the chunkiness of the stew. It went really well together. So I really hope you make this dish. It is wonderful any time of year, particularly though during winter like we are now. Before I go, thank you very much for your support and subscribing. I really appreciate it and it means a lot to me. So, sure, if you make it and eat it, I know you'll love it. Cheers. Lovely. Oh, bye.